Well, hey everybody, Tim Eyman here. We're going to do a Facebook Live, and we're going to be doing introduction of this effort to ban facial recognition technology at Seatac Airport. So we're going to do that like right now. So let's dive in. Well, hey, thanks everybody for coming. This is one of the most substantive things you're going to see during the entire campaign, frankly, because it's something that none of us really saw coming. We all have our standard things we talk about, but this is going to be, I think, a really meaty issue, a really good issue, and I think it's one that a lot of people really care about. So I'm going to dive into it. I got to do it, though. The first thing we're going to talk about is this young lady. This is Riley. She's 12. I've been bringing her to these events like forever. So in this one, she's 6 months old, and so that's how we roll. So anyway, she's 12 now, but still getting dragged to Dad's political events. So that's how we roll. So any thoughts on that, Riley?
I was young.
She was young. She had no choice. Now she had a choice, and we brought her along anyway. So that's Riley right there. That's her there. And Josh. Take that bad boy. Ah! Got to start with her. So we're not going to talk about this. It's all going to culminate in an initiative that's going to be filed today and actually launched today in the city of Seatac. And it's going to be, Lewis here is from Seatac. He's actually going to be the first signer of it. He's the sponsor of it. And we're supporting this effort to make sure that the voters in Seatac have a chance to be able to vote on this. So we're now going to talk about it, with no distractions whatsoever. That's what's so cool about this. There's no distractions. So we'll dive right in here. So this technology has been much hyped by the press and tech companies. Governments and security contractors that profit from government and fund the campaigns of entrenched politicians are salivating at the chance to create a trillion-dollar industry on the uniqueness of your face. We have been facing ominous prospects of the world resembling the movie Minority Report or reminiscent of the terrifying social credit scheme in China. Police departments all over the country have been testing or using facial recognition in body cameras. Most of America's major airports, including Seatac International behind me, are slated to use the technology widely starting next year. But starting last year, several cities across the country banned it altogether, including San Francisco, Boston, Oklahoma, and others. Efforts are ongoing in Portland and even the entire state of California to ban it also. More recently, we have seen top developers of facial recognition tech, IBM, Amazon, and lastly Microsoft, back off their plans to flood police departments around the US with this technology. Also, the European Union and even members of US Congress introduced proposals to ban facial recognition from being used by government, but not in Washington. Despite the massive privacy concerns and well-known ethnic bias issues repeatedly documented in the use and testing of facial recognition tech, Jay Inslee and the Democrats in the legislature paved the way for the use of this technology statewide. The recent facial recognition law passed by the Washington legislature, the recent facial recognition law passed by the Washington legislature was one of the weirdest bills in the last few years. It started out as a very solid protection of individuals' privacy rights and a strong limit on big tech's ability to watch you. Then Inslee and his big tech cronies got a hold of this draft, gutted it, and turned it inside out. All the protections for people, and limits on big tech went away. The bill became a guideline for how big tech can cooperate with law enforcement. It was one of the most decadent and crony-driven episodes in recent history in Olympia. And to push the crony hash through, Inslee had to walk over several moderate Democrats who actually wanted to protect people's privacy. It was shameful. This sorry episode didn't get much media attention. Facial recognition tech isn't considered a big policy issue yet, but it may end up being one of the worst things that Inslee has ever done, and that's saying a lot. After the tragic killing of George Floyd and the protests in the aftermath, there have been so much focus on the bias, inaccuracies, and flaws with facial recognition that Amazon, IBM, and even Microsoft all placed temporary holds on law enforcement's use. But this is all just a ploy. They're waiting for public opinion to soften again, and they're waiting for more politicians like Inslee to give them legal and political cover. We're not going to wait for that. Today, the effort begins to ban facial recognition technology in Washington State. But this is just the beginning. Now, why are we so concerned about this technology? For one, there are false positives. A study in Detroit was said to have revealed a more than 90% inaccuracy rate. Next is the racial bias. People of color are more likely to be inaccurately identified by face tracking. Surely the use of facial recognition will only serve to exacerbate existing tensions in our communities. Riley, you have any thoughts on this? No. Move up a little closer, beautiful. Of course, there are general privacy concerns, and we can expect rampant abuse of facial recognition for warrantless searches and spying. A less obvious threat from facial recognition tech is its effect on the social fabric of our society. Study after study over the years have shown the chilling effect surveillance has on the mind when a person knows they're being watched. Facial recognition technology will forever alter the way we relate to the world around us and to other people. It will stifle creativity and freedom of expression. It will be another tear into the social fabric of our state caused by a governor who declared some people essential and other people non-essential. Encourage people to snitch on their neighbors who aren't following his arbitrary mandates. Deepened the resentment and political divide that already exists between people who see the world differently, and caused a situation where people who can't or who don't want to wear masks of dubious efficacy and likely harmfulness are ostracized by society and treated as outcasts. Lastly, there are other risks no one talks about, at least now. We hear in the news all the time about government and big tech's poor record of protecting our data. Many of us have been the victims of identity theft. And if you have been that, you know how awful that experience is. Just recently, my daughter is not properly in the frame. Here we go. Had to do it, people. Nobody says this stuff can't be fun. Serious topic, but I want her. Just recently, Inslee mismanaged our employment security department and sent nearly $1 billion to Nigerian princes while he put out of work and starved and struggled to keep a roof over their heads were regular single moms and families not getting checks. Well, it's one thing to have your credit card stolen and another to have your Social Security or other private data stolen. But when we use our faces or other biometric data for ID, when law enforcement, TSA, or airlines can track us, arrest us, or restrict our right to travel, all without a warrant, based on the uniqueness of your face, your color of your skin. This should give any red-blooded American a huge red flag. What happens when someone hacks your face? What happens when someone hacks your palm print? When this data is ubiquitous and communicated freely between corporations and government, we'll see terrifying risks to our privacy and to our safety. There is no place in America for government to possess and use such technologies, and when I am governor, Washington will be kept free of it. This initiative, let's show us this initiative. Can I show you this initiative, dear? I'm going to show everybody this initiative. When this, I lost my train of thought. There we go. This initiative to ban facial recognition in Seatac will extend to the airport and allow everyone flying in or out of Seatac to not be subject to facial recognition tracking. The specific language of the initiative says, facial recognition technology, the use of facial recognition technology that tracks, profiles, records, or maintains the identities and movements of innocent citizens is prohibited anywhere in the city limits of Seatac, including but not limited to at least the Seatac airport. The intent section of the initiative. Innocent citizens should not be forced to accept such a disturbing escalation of governmental power without greater public participation and citizen input. The U.S. Constitution's Fourth Amendment guarantees the people's right to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures from the government. Facial recognition technology that tracks, profiles, records, or maintains the identities and movements of innocent citizens clearly threatens that constitutional right. Our personal privacy and constitutional rights cannot be sacrificed without a public debate and a public vote. No one should have their faces scanned or their biometrics tracked to get them on or off an airplane, whether domestic or international, to otherwise travel, enter buildings, or talk to a local police officer. Jay Inslee, however, has no problem with government tracking people against their will and without a warrant. Inslee seems to have no regard for your privacy. And Inslee has over and over again shown contempt for the Fourth Amendment, the First Amendment, and frankly the Second Amendment for that matter. He's proposed a creepy pay-per-mile tax that would put a tracker box in your car and track your every movement. He has proposed a contact tracing program that has unsettling features, which could be expanded by a big tech wish list of phone tracking of people who encounter this sick. And of course, there is the facial recognition technology law. And of course, there is the facial recognition law that Inslee signed. Well, no more. Today, we stand up to wannabe dictators and the technology industrial complex. Today, we begin an effort that will help shine a light on the corruption industrial complex, the system of kickbacks and special favors given to the special interests who have funded Democrat campaigns and bank on us by having one-party rule. Today, we announce this initiative that in Little Seatac, we will protect the people of Washington from having their faces scanned and tracked to get on or off an airplane. We begin the ban of facial recognition used on city streets and public buildings. We begin the ban of facial recognition being used in police body cams and face data being sent to police from doorbell cameras. And I'm confident that this initiative will pass. For 22 years, I've been offering solutions to voters to solve problems politicians won't. And privacy is something I've dealt with before. Just a few years ago, we qualified and passed ban cams initiatives in my hometown of very liberal Mukilteo with 71% of the vote. In very liberal Bellingham with 65% of the vote. Conservative Monroe, 56% of the vote. Conservative Longview, 55% of the vote. And we got them repealed in middle of the road, Redmond. So I'm showing this sign that said Redmond is no longer a photo enforcement city. And I got this from the sponsor of that initiative, Scott Harlan. And he said, thank you so much for making this a reality in Redmond. We have left a permanent positive impact on our hometown forever. One of our proudest achievements was doing these local initiatives to ban these red light ticketing cameras because it was an unholy alliance between government and corporations to pick our pockets. We never lost at the ballot box. We kept winning until the broken system of Washington's Supreme Court ruled that local ban cams initiatives were not allowed. Now I'm running for governor to fix that broken system. And instead of voters getting to support just one of my ideas, we can talk about many. Privacy, facial recognition, and ending government corruption are tops on my list. Because there is no constituency among voters begging to have their face tracked everywhere they go. Nobody wants this. Facial recognition doesn't benefit anyone. And today we make a strong stand to protect our people from being experimented on any longer by Jay Inslee, the yes men in his party, and special interests to stand to make a profit over what you look like. I'm now going to turn it over to Lewis. Lewis is a resident of Seatac, a real hero who served us in the military, and he is the leader of this local effort in Seatac. It's a really exciting effort that we're making, and he will be the official first signer of My Face, My Choice, this initiative, Citizens Against Facial Recognition. Citizens against it, he's the first citizen. So it's a very, very cool thing. So let's hear it for Lewis. There we go, Lewis. And say anything you want. So this is Lewis. He's now becoming the first signer. Gladly, he said. This is awesome. So 2,149 to go.
I think we can do it. I don't really see this as a partisan issue, more so a privacy issue. There's moments in time that you go back and you look and you think, man, what could I have done to stop this? All the way back to Hitler, if you will, the Pandora's box, if you will. Nobody knows what this technology is going to be used for. What type of invasion of privacy it's going to have. What are the second and third order of effects that could come from this? Think about your children. Do you want the government to have the shape and all of the details that go inside of your child's face? Right? And I'm sure there's tons of other parents out there that probably feel the same way. I mean, this isn't a partisan issue. This isn't a conservative versus liberal issue, a Democrat versus Republican issue. This is a privacy issue. You don't want these big tech companies getting a hold of this data. What can they possibly do with it? I'll tell you what, they could probably sell it to somebody, just like they do on Facebook now. You talk about something for a second on your phone while it's locked and face down, and you turn back to your social medias or whatever web pages you go to, and you find these advertisements that are are exactly what you were looking or talking to your wife about or your kid about. Just try it out. Just try it out. But who knows what this technology is going to be used for?
And by doing an initiative, we're opening up a debate, a discussion. People will actually learn something about it. The citizens of Seatac are going to be leaders actually be the first citizens that actually have a voice in this. Local governments are banning it, as we heard about in California. This would be the first time the citizens have a chance to vote on it. And I feel very confident the citizens of Seatac, a very ethnically diverse community, a community of people that care about their communities. And I think, there it is. Big deal. That's exactly right. It's a very
like I said, Pandora's box. We don't know where this ends. It starts with the airport. Sure, it sounds like it doesn't sound like a good idea. I'm not even gonna say that. You know, where does it stop? You know, just they keep itching away at our different constitutional rights. And when are we gonna put the foot down? Wouldn't you like to go back in time and some of the big gun issues or hunting issues, or you know? Wouldn't you like to go back in time and say, man, I wish I could have stopped something. I wish I could have stopped it. Well, here's our moment here. This facial recognition, look into it. There's tons of other people that can make money from this. Who knows what they're going to do with it? And then, like Tim was saying, your information can get hacked. You know, what happens when somebody hacks your face? You know?
Can you change your passcode?
Oh. I mean, I'm sure there's a couple of people that have tried and nip tucked it, you know. All right, thank you, Tim.
No, thank you, man. Oh, I appreciate that, man. This is awesome. Wow, this is really awesome. I'm running for governor, so I can pretty much do anything I want. So I'm going to get my daughter in on this. My sister-in-law, her aunt, managed to take her during Christmas, there we go, to London. And I would just, Riley, what was it like in London when you were on that trip? I haven't been to London, I haven't been overseas, but I've heard about this. I was just curious what your take on it was.
I just recently found out there are cameras, and before I knew that, it does feel like you are being watched when you walk around.
Did you see cameras when you were there?
Some places you would find cameras, and I thought it would be very creepy of how they're everywhere, and it feels like you're being watched.
And was it not good to be watched? That sucks. So I had to do that. She's beautiful. She's awesome. But seriously, she talked about it when she got back. It's just like there are cameras everywhere there. And that's just not America. America believes in personal privacy. We value it. It's important to us. And I think that what this does is it's a very important point that this is giving the citizens of Seatac a chance to have a greater voice in this decision. There's hardly any scrutiny of this decision down in Olympia. When you're doing a signature drive, you're educating people, you're talking to people, you're interacting with people. People will not know that this is even happening. And I think that that's one of the greatest things you do once you qualify for the ballot. Then everybody's going to have a chance to learn more about it. Frankly, the media then has an easier time writing a story about it and getting it on the news because the voters will be making a vote in November on this one. So it's a chance for you to be able to learn more about it, start interviewing some people from Seatac. What do you think about this in your backyard? It gives you a reason to actually delve into it. This issue was not talked about this legislative session because what happens in Olympia is it's kind of an anonymity of chaos. There's 3,000 bills every legislative session. About 500 of them become law. No way anybody can keep track of all that stuff. And what's so insidious about this one, the ACLU was against the bill when it had protections in it. The way a bill becomes a law, it passes the House, the Senate, and the two chambers come together and they reconcile the two bills. Not in this case. They took out both versions, started from scratch, sat down with Microsoft, sat down with Inslee, rewrote the entire thing, stripped out all the consumer protections, put it back on the House and the Senate. They ended up passing it into law. This, on process as well as policy, this is so dangerous, so bad, sets a horrible precedent, and I think the citizens of Seatac are going to be leaders to have them be able to be the tip of the spear that are the first ones that are going to have a chance to weigh in on it. What always happens at these things is you forget about the stuff you should have said. I'm going to turn it back to Lewis because I know that he's thought of something else. Anything else that you forgot to mention in your comments?
Just one last thing. I think the citizens of Seatac especially should have a voice. You know, without this initiative, you have no voice. If you're for it, whatever. If you're against it, come sign it.
That's awesome. That's a very good point. When we were doing our initiatives on red light ticketing cameras, we made it very clear. Signing the petition doesn't mean you're for or against the issue. It means that you think that it's a worthy issue that we should all have a chance to learn about and vote on. So whether you're for it or against it, it really is a matter of, do you want to have a public debate, a public discussion, a public vote on something like this? I absolutely am excited about this initiative. It's a great one. I'm running for governor, so obviously I don't have time to organize it myself, but Lewis was willing to take this thing on, take on this challenge. People are going to be on the Seatac, are going to get emailed a copy of this petition in the next couple of hours, and they are going to have a chance to be able to download it, print it out, mail it in. So it's a wonderful opportunity for citizens to be able to get active on this one. It's the citizens of Seatac that will vote on it, but all of us will benefit from it. So it's a really, really exciting thing. I'm happy about it. I can open it up to questions and whatever direction you want to go, or if you got to get out of here, I understand. But anything, any follow-up at all, Tim or Tyler? Anything at all? All good? You're good? What's that? He's a Democrat who tracks all the people that are running for governor. He sells his videos. He's very excited right now that, see, look, we got to talk about Hitler for a while. So it's just kind of silly. And there's a basic rule in politics. First side brings up Hitler, loses.
I'm sure there were plenty of telltale signs back in before Germany was Nazi Germany that the citizens could have looked at and said, huh. Well, fast forward to 1941 too. If they would have been able to know what they know in that moment in time, would they have went back and stopped something? That's what I was getting whenever I said. I wasn't trying to say the Holocaust or anything like that.
Now this guy does have one redeeming feature. Excellent taste in clothes. Wazoo. I went to Wazoo. This is how we roll. So we have some errant guys that went there too. So anyway, she's going to go there. My oldest son is there right now. So go Cougs. It's awesome. So any questions from you, young lady?
Question for you.
Please.
I think what you're doing is great, but I would like to know if you could make a promise to the people of Washington to be a leader of our state, unlike what we have going on today.
I think anybody that runs for office and you take them at their word, you're making a mistake. Everybody who runs for office, you shouldn't believe what they say. You should look at what they're actually doing while running and what they've done in the past. That's the only thing you can. There you go. He makes my point. It's so nice when Mom came. You know, Mom, thanks for coming. No. She's a long-time supporter. No, but it's a very important point, is that when people run for office, they say all sorts of stuff. What matters to me is what they're actually doing and what they have done. And my passion for personal privacy, we did it on these red light ticketing cameras. We're doing it now with this one, banning facial recognition technology. You know, leading is about finding issues where the voters really care about something and the political establishment isn't allowing it to occur. This, to me, seemed like a perfect opportunity to be able to highlight something that I think is really dangerous that government is doing right now. And the broken system we have, Inslee is exploiting it because we're all distracted. We're all tearing each other's eyes out with snitch lists and everyone attacking everybody. Are you wearing a mask? Are you not wearing a mask? He wants us attacking one another. And the beauty of the initiative process, thanks to Lewis leading this thing, is we're going to have a good substantive policy discussion over, do we really want to go this far? We would be the national guinea pig for this technology. It is an expansion like we've never seen nationwide. They're all talking about how this is going to be this bill. They're talking about this is the national model. This is what we're going to follow all throughout the nation. This particular bill. It has no consumer protections on it. It is absolutely an atrocious piece of legislation that violates our basic constitutional rights. And unless somebody does something about it, I didn't want to just say, elect me governor and I won't implement this. I want to make sure that we get rid of it together this coming November when you're voting for me for governor. So with that being said, any other questions? And yes, young lady in the back. That's the killer. It has to be Seatac voters. Now, actually take that back. Anybody can sign the petition. Anybody can sign the petition. It's just that the only signature that will actually count is from a Seatac voter, and we have to get 2,149 voters in Seatac to actually go forward with that. So it's very, very exciting. So, sir.
Did you introduce the gas, eliminate the gas taxes for the licensing?
Car tabs?
Yeah.
Car tabs. Another day. We're doing that another day. Right now, facial recognition technology is what we're talking about today. I'm a $30 tabs guy. I'd normally talk your ear off, but today,
Let me show you're the same person.
I am the same person, yes. Well, I appreciate you asking, sir. I really, really appreciate that. Any other questions? It says that there is no facial recognition technology that is, well, actually, let's read it. Let's actually read it. The use of facial recognition technology that tracks, profiles, records, or maintains the identities and movements of innocent citizens is prohibited anywhere within the city limits of Seatac, including, but not limited to, Seatac Airport. This would be a camera-free zone where you could actually come to Seatac and be able to come here and know that your government or nobody is going to be profiting off of your face. We want to make sure that if we're going to go down this road, we need to have a greater discussion, a greater debate. And the thing that's so good about this is so purely corrupt what they've done. Even if you're in favor of facial recognition technology, shouldn't we have a discussion, a debate over it? And shouldn't there be actual protections built into it rather than just a bunch of corporations and a bunch of governments profiting off your faces? So anyway, thank you all for coming out. Appreciate it. Hey! Now, the very good. Yeah, tip for go. And the first lady. Thanks a lot for coming out, man. This is awesome. That's it for the day.
Yay.
You're a keeper, man. Got to see all the Oh, this is great.
5 different people texted me within that time. I've never had that many of my friends text me out.
Uncle Tio.
Tam, you're getting a big thumbs up from that car over there, so give her a wave.
Good to meet you as well. Thanks for coming by. Tyler, thanks for coming. Be good.
That would be awesome,
It'll be instant. We filed a lawsuit. So that one, that's coming up. I think it's usually 28 days from the time you file. It's usually.
What are we talking about getting bigger yard signs? Like big, because we could get some really large ones.
Yeah, that would be good.
That's just for Seatac.
What's that?
We talked about getting bigger signs.
Oh, is it?
We did. Text Tim.
Okay, I just thought there might be something here now.
So what's that?
How come we didn't use that?
So with this, can you do the photo enforcement or
Oh,
Dirty dogs. We kept beating them, and so they eventually made it where the court ended up ruling you can't do it. Red light camera and local initiatives. You can't do those anymore. Sock. We kept no. You can't do an initiative to overturn the ban. We did in multiple cities, and it kept winning because they kept winning.
this particular one is right.
We even.
And I'm against
I
running
know,
red
man.
lights. I get sick
What's
of
your
it.
name? Tim. Where are you from, John?
John just took one of your signs, Tim, so he's going to put it up in a good spot.
So good to hear that, man. Thank you for doing that. Good fight. it's a good fight.
Dirty dogs. Well, I thought you did excellent today, Tim.
Was it okay?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. It's a good issue.
It's
It's a
amazing,
wonderful issue.
amazing, you know. And it's like everybody who just says, you know, will you promise to not do X? You're like,
Is there time to throw it
it's
on
so
a
silly.
statewide
no,
initiative?
no. See,
time
what's
left?
beauty about this is it's only 2,000 signatures.
Yeah,
in
it makes it
Seatac.
quick and easy. Yeah, get it
Bomb
on there.
in.
Yeah,
go,
and
you know.
it does the punch right off the
It
get-go.
does, because
Yeah.
that's all we care about.
Yeah, get 2,000 signatures should be fairly easy.
You just got to get a bunch of people to come in. It won't be just City of Seatac.
But it'll knock out one of their
Where
prize
it's going to
places.
do it. That's where they're going to do
They
it.
can't afford to put up cameras every last one.
Oh, we're still recording. Hey, everybody. Totally forgot about you. No offense. Final finale. Anyway, love you guys. Thanks a lot for listening in. Take care.